We're now moving to our keynote, Rural Europe in 2050, a live reality check, Peter. Peter Meister Broekema is the lead policy researcher at Premium EU. You're going to use Mentimeter, but I will let you explain to people how we do that.
Yeah, wonderful. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed being here. As said before, my name is Peter Meister Broekema, and I'm an associate lecturer at Hanze University of Applied Sciences. And my research is basically on broad prosperity. And this is more than economic development, and Corey will say a little bit more about it later, and also about the impacts of demographic changes. So this project is really well suited for me, I think. And it's really funny because we started working on this 5 years ago, Leo, me, and Alice, who's also in the back. And it's amazing what it turned out to be. We envisioned a dashboard, and we got a dashboard. We envisioned a lot of people coming here, and it actually happened. So thank you all so much. Yeah, before we start, wait, here's my thing. I would like to switch to the Mentimeter, because what I want to do today, so I've been involved in the policy scraping and the policy analysis from policies all over Europe, but I'm not going to talk about that today, because I think a lot of you have already seen me online explaining a lot of the things, so I thought it would be nice to do something else. So for now, I'd like to grab your phone and answer these two questions. In 2100, will your region have more people, less people, or roughly the same amount of people? So a lot of responses coming in. Feels like Eurovision, but the lines are closing, so... If we reach 100, then I'll call it a day. Interesting. So there's it looks like the German elections. There's something going on between more people and less people who is going to win. Okay, thank you so much. Maybe we could go to the next one. And then we have another. Is migration currently a strategic focus in your region? Just, hey, you don't have to think a lot about it, but just... is migration. And I asked this because we scraped and analyzed a lot of policies, so I'm curious to see if in your region this is a hot topic. And interesting, by the way, we did find some policies on the wolf, actually, so yeah. Okay, also quite, no, okay. So this is also evenly spread, I would say. And this is interesting because if we looked at regional level and also the municipal level, we didn't find a lot of specific migration policies, also because it's really blended, of course, and because a lot has to do with housing and other types of things. So maybe it is a hot topic, but the way we looked at it, we couldn't find a lot of specific migration policies, which is interesting, I think. Okay, maybe we can, and then the communication team sneaked in another question, which wasn't mine. So you could answer this in private, I think, and then we could switch back to the... So this is more for you, I would say. So could we switch back to the presentation? Yeah, could you? Yeah. Awesome, okay. So what we saw is that a lot of people actually said, well, some of you said, well, there will be more people in my region in 2100. Some of you said, well, there will be less. Well, I have a shocking image for you, and that is this image, and I found it roughly a year ago in The Guardian, and this is showing how Europe will decline. And so basically all of the regions, so maybe some of you came from Paris or maybe Ireland or some parts of Romania, which are still developing, will be growing, but the rest of it will decline. And this is really a grim picture, but this picture is without migration. And if you take that migration into account, then you suddenly see that a lot of the regions in Europe, especially in the northern and western part of Europe, will still be growing. But some of them, especially in the south and the east, will still be declining. So this is something to keep in mind. And I think it's interesting because people often don't realize how many regions will be, will be declining based on population. So for me, the central question of the day is what can be done from a policymaker's perspective and what are the barriers? So if we see this, what can we do? And I think there are 3 strategies. So the whole idea was that this should be a little bit provocative, so doing my best. But I think we could do three things, basically. We could accept it. We could just say, okay, this is going to happen. We don't do anything about it. This is how it is. But I think, and I don't see a lot of enthusiastic reactions, I think most people will not like this, will not agree to this. So I think the other thing is we could act. And if you look at a region, and if you think about how can we ensure that the region will be growing again, you can press 3 buttons. And for me it's easy to say because I'm not a demographer, so I can say this a little bit more bluntly, but I think you can push 3 buttons. So you can have more births, you can have less deaths, or you can have more migration, basically. But how do you do this, and is this even possible? For example, if you have more births, are you going to give them incentives? I know that there are a few countries and a few regions where they do this, but is this actually something you would like to do, to give people who are in better regions, who have been, you see it in the literature, if people have more money, they probably have less kids. So is this even possible with incentives? The second one, less deaths. That's also quite difficult. People die in the end. There's not much we can do about it. So the only thing you could do is maybe invest a lot in healthy aging. So ensuring that people will become older and they will not become ill for a longer period, but only become ill at the very end of their lives and live long, happy lives. So we could actually use them as well. They could bring benefit to the society, etc. So that could be a strategy, but still, is it the answer? And I think the most easy button to push is maybe more migration. Getting people, if you look at regions and if you look at continents around us, there are still continents rapidly growing with a lot of people who could actually come and work here. But is this feasible at the moment, given the political climate? Well, I'm asking the question, but I think we all know the answer. It's really difficult. So the only thing you could do is maybe focus on smart migration. We heard this before with the Copenhagen area, attracting people from Copenhagen into the regions around it. And yes, that is an option for a region. But on a macro level, it doesn't really matter, right? Because if somebody goes from one region to the other, the whole region or the whole country is still going down. So this is also really difficult. And it's the same if you talk about staying policies, attracting people, maybe not attracting them, but letting them stay. This could work for specific regions. But if the whole of the Europe is going down, this still isn't the answer. So what I think is that we should look more at adaptation. And I think the key in adaptation lies in this new definition of population decline, because this is always really negative. If you look at population decline, it's always about we have outmigration, people are leaving, that's why population decline, facility decline, and that leads to livability decline. But this shouldn't be the only answer, I think. And I don't want to zoom in too much on this model, but I just want to point out that if people are leaving, this does not necessarily mean that facilities have to decline. I put one of the examples from my home region on the right side, and that's an old supermarket. The supermarket went bankrupt, but then the people from the city decided, from a rural town, decided that it should still be there. So they volunteered to work there. They combined a lot of facilities within that supermarket, and now it exists and is thriving. So even with less people, it was still possible to have the same facilities. And I think the same can be said with the picture above, and that's basically new forms of mobilities. If you have a car, and if you have, like, I don't know, smart cars driving everywhere, electric self-driving cars, you could still have a hub where people could go to, and they could spread out, go to different cities, and enjoy the facilities there. So just want to point out that population decline doesn't have to be the end of everything. So I think for today, and maybe it is provocative, maybe everybody thinks, well, we know this, but I think demographic decline will reshape Europe's regions, and I think that the real policy challenge is not preventing this, but governing it wisely. So, and I see you nodding a little bit, Radim. May I ask you to respond to this? Yeah, go here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was asked to react to this. I will be a part of panel in the afternoon, but let me react. I am a member also, proud member of the European Committee of the Regions. Thank to my dear colleague Hanne for hosting you here, because it's a great pleasure, because we are usually as politicians talking, but to connect it with real research, it's always great. So I'm looking for the discussions. And my reaction, I am a proud rural citizen. I used my right to stay and right to return already 20 years ago, studying in Denmark actually, then doing my PhD thesis on Danish Euroscepticism, and then coming back from Brussels for internship to Brussels to my rural area. It's 250 kilometers from Prague, 60 kilometers from the first city. And I came back, everyone said, you are crazy, you are going to the museum, or to the prison. I thought it was the best decision. My motivation was also that my mother, she was a mayor there, my grandfather used to be a mayor there, and my son is now 8 years old and he wants to be a mayor. But we are true democracy, we have 120 candidates for a mayor, just to be sure. And I'm always thinking how to attract people back, to this very rural municipality. I must tell you that we are growing in numbers. Actually, in the last 16 years, we've grown by 150 people. We are 1,400 people. So people are motivated to come, and it's also about the status. Our motto is, it's lively in our municipality. It's maybe too lively sometimes. We have also a school pub, just to see, I was inspired by Carlsberg Brewery, that all the profit goes to the education, so we made the same. And I would like to just stress out that it's about the quality of life, quality of services, which is indeed in the Czech Republic quite big, because we invest a lot of even European money to rural areas. So this is not the case like Spain or Italy or other countries. But the second thing is also about the image. Because, if you ask young people, and there is a very nice research of, I think, Bologna University, they asked the young people from all the new member states if they want to come back to rural areas, and what's their motivation. And 40%, 60% were objective criteria: housing, good quality housing, services, schools, etc. And 40% were not able to reply. Because, it's a subjective. Because it's not sexy to live in rural areas, And I think this is something which we should change. It's about the image. We manage that in our municipality and try to do it in other places, and I think this works, And I am quite positive about it, because I am teaching for 16 years already at university. To live in rural areas, it's not a prison, because in the morning I woke up yesterday in my municipality. I was doing some work at the municipality. In the evening, I was teaching my university's diplomacy in Prague. In the morning, I flew to Brussels. Tomorrow, I will be back home, and Thursday in just transition region of Ostrava. And Friday, I will go for ski racing championship with my son. So you can live everywhere, and you can be everywhere, and it's not a prison. So when I talk to my students at university, I think there is a huge shift. That's also why I replied that I hope there will be more people in my municipality, because they are taking in account work-life balance much more, and they are thinking much more to go back to rural areas. But we have to create them so-called landing strips. It was in this project that those huge Airbus 380, now Emirates cannot fly from Dubai, so they can fly to rural areas, and bring the people, young people to the rural areas, And I must say that in my municipality, the young families are coming back from the cities, having university degrees, usually using the possibilities of home offices, remote work, so commuting to Olomouc, 60 kilometers to Prague, 250 kilometers with good train connection, and it works, So I'm quite positive about rural areas. I hope that also the outcomes of today's conference will be positive, and I am proud rural citizen first of all, so I will always struggle for rural areas, and I try to do that here in this building. Sometimes they called me ridiculously Mr. Rural, but I am proud to be Mr. Rural.
Well, that's really perfect. That's the positive comment we really want. And I think this really aligns with what I've been saying, right? We really need to adapt. We need to change our thought, maybe on rural regions, but also on economic development. It's all about a mental shift, and then we can make really, really nice progress. So, like I said, I think this is going to happen. I hope that Premium EU, we've been doing a lot. You've heard about this. You will find out lots more. You will see the dashboard. You will see the research. So I think we came up with some solutions, maybe some toolkits to provide new pathways for policymakers. And I think a reshift is really necessary. So I want to end with that today. Enjoy the rest of the day, and thank you so much.